name is Jess and this is Vox Populi. Today I'm honoured to be joined by Ben Habib, who is the former deputy leader of Reform. Ben, how are you finding the conference today?
Great. It's wonderful to be with a whole load of like-minded people. Nothing like an echo chamber to make you feel better, right?
Absolutely. The first question I want to ask is, do you think Britain is doomed or should we have hope still?
We should absolutely have hope. I have more hope now than I did 6 months ago.
Why?
Because we have across the Atlantic a brave new American administration that is doing everything that's right to be done for the United States of America, which was also facing the same threats that we were. And now I think will be rescued, and it is undoubtedly the biggest and most powerful democracy in the world. And J.D. Vance calling out the European leaders last week has made it clear to Europe and the United Kingdom that we better get on the bandwagon or we're going to find ourselves out in the backwater as far as the United States is concerned. So I think our politicians are going to wake up and they are going to start doing the right thing by the country. I'm very, very hopeful.
Do you think the future of that will be with Reform or the Conservative Party? Like, how do you envision the political landscape
Well,
being?
it's unlikely to be the Labour Party, though even the Labour Party may shift its position, by the way. It may be less extreme than it. I mean, it's a supremely extreme party at the moment on the left. But for me, I don't really care whether it's Reform or the Conservatives, as long as they do the job.
What would you say the job is, though? Because with Reform, for example, I actually think what they're pushing, what any of the parties or the politicians are pushing in terms of mass immigration, which I would argue is the biggest issue, they honestly just don't go far enough. If you look at areas where I live, for example, I came from Bolton, I now live in Tottenham, and I am a minority in that area. I'm one of the few white people I see when I walk down the street.
And
that's
London,
already
Tottenham,
happened.
in London, yeah.
And so just stopping it or really controlling immigration isn't enough. How do you think we can go back to a Britain that was once great?
So what's happened, I think, over the last 30, 40 years is that there's been a move by those that govern Western civilization against nation states. They have seen nation states as being a problem when it comes to global prosperity, peace and harmony. And they've tried to do away with nation states. And in the process of doing away with nation states, they've forgotten what it means, therefore, to be British and what it means to protect Britain's interests and to promote British people's interests. And they see the world as their oyster. And, you know, whether you're an immigrant or British, it doesn't really matter. You know, all come to the country and everyone's welcome. Moreover, we've got a regulatory and legal system now which puts a protective blanket around ethnic minorities, minority religious beliefs, minority sexual preferences, transgender ideology. Every minority and every minority belief is protected in this country. And indeed, it's worse than that. They're promoted, they're celebrated, and they're told, you can do whatever you wish because this is a wonderful country and we will let you continue doing what you do. And so when it comes to ethnicities, for example, we haven't got multiculturalism in the sense that lots of different cultures are integrating, getting to know each other, cross-pollinating through marriage and producing a homogeneous new version of the UK. What we've got is multicultural silos across the United Kingdom, all of which are operating independently of each other, practicing their own cultures and their own religions and their own sets of beliefs, many of which hate this country. And we are disintegrating. And so we need to, first of all, appreciate what the problem is. And I think I've reasonably well spelt it out. And I mean, I could go on, but that kind of gives you a vision of where we are. And we need to reverse all of that. And so we need a program to unwind effectively the last 30 years of legislative changes that have been made to this country that have been so damaging to it, all the way back to the Human Rights Act of 1998. The independence of the Bank of England, the establishment of Ofcom, the establishment of the Electoral Commission, the establishment of the Office of Budget Responsibility, the international treaties into which we've entered, our membership of all these international bodies. All of this needs to be reversed, and our politicians need to be held accountable for what they do. And we need decent politicians who grasp what's required to be done, are not just, left Oxford University having done PPE and have been shoehorned into positions in Parliament. They've got to go out, have a proper life, come back to Parliament when they can deliver. And so that's what we need to do. And that's actually what I'm trying to do through my new Great British Political Action Committee, which is not a think tank, but it's a pressure group really to make sure that politicians have the right vision and they have the right personnel with which to deliver that vision. And I'm very hopeful, as I said, because I think that the changes taking place across the Atlantic are irresistible to Europe. We will have to now move.
You kind of touched on it briefly. It's one of the things I often see come up, and I would say it's quite controversial, even though I don't think it should be. I don't think many people can actually define what it means to be British. So how would you define that?
They've deliberately removed your ability to define it. They've codified what it means to be British through the Human Rights Act. And so when people say, what does it mean to be British now? People are falling back on documentary description of what your rights are as a human being. That's not what it means to be British. What it means to be British is to be proud of your country, to have pride in the history of your country, to take and understand your contextual existence through the history that we've had. And that's another reason why, by the way, they completely attack our history, because if they can attack our history, they remove our modern contextual position, our understanding of who we are, because they've trashed our history, and they also simultaneously remove our pride in the nation. All of this is deliberate. They want to remove your pride in the nation. They don't want you to be able to define what it means to be British. And so we've got to fight against all of that. And one way to really get a lefty antagonized is to say, you're very proud of the British Empire. And I'm very proud of the British Empire. My pinned tweet, or pinned post now you have to call it, is all about the British Empire. And yeah, to hell with them.
So you mentioned how being British is about being proud of who you are. But just to push back on that definition, if somebody who was born in this country, their ancestors go back to this country, you have a lot of, for example, like progressive left-wing people who hate this country. Would you say that they're not British then?
No, I wouldn't say they're not British. I say they're daft as brushes, and that they're anti-British, including our Prime Minister, who is anti-British, and I say the vast majority of the cabinet are anti-British.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think so many people, especially young people nowadays, I don't know if you saw the poll where it's like almost half of young people don't feel proud to be British or feel
nearly
like Britain's
60%,
racist.
And nearly 40% would not fight for this country.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
Well, it goes back to this liberal global order, this fundamentally wrong belief that global prosperity comes through effectively doing away with belligerent nation states, as they might call them, that perpetually go to war. Look, I understand that there was a need for greater international cooperation after World War II, because nation states had been a bit muscular and difficult. Mostly European ones, by the way, not the United Kingdom, but mostly European ones. So we needed the ECHR, and we needed the UN, and we needed the International Court of Justice to bring some order to the world. But that pendulum has swung too far away from nation states in favor of the international order. And whilst I do believe in cooperating with other countries, we should do that as a proud, independent, sovereign country. When we go to the UN, we shouldn't become integrated with other countries. We need to face other countries as proud, independent, standing up for our own people. And we need to just recapture that. We need to yank the pendulum away from the global liberal order and bring it back to the domestic, sovereign, democratic order.
Why do you think it's so important to be proud of your nation and community as well? Because I feel like, when we talk about nation, I think a fundamental part of what it is to be English or to be British is to have a sense of community, is to know your community identity and the history around that.
It's a fundamental part of any nation state. If Pakistanis in Pakistan weren't proud of Pakistan, Pakistan would cease to exist. I mean, it's remarkable. My dad's Pakistani, so I can speak with some authority about Pakistan, and I was born there, and I left Pakistan when I was 13. The Pakistani flag is everywhere. You don't see any LGBTQ flags in Pakistan. It is just the Pakistani flag. It is everywhere. And pictures of the founder of the country, a guy called Muhammad Ali Jinnah, are everywhere. It is absolutely imbued in the youth of Pakistan that they should believe in Pakistan. We don't do that here. We don't sing the national anthem at school. We don't have the Union flag all over the place. Many people see the Union flag as divisive. Most people see the St. George's flag as divisive. They see that as a flag for the far right. It's not. It's the English flag. And we've got to get rid of all this nonsense. And, just to reiterate, Starmer and that ideology and his people are far left extremists. They hate this country. They are anti-British. And we need to boot them out of power. That's what we need to do.
Well, amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
It's
you.
so amazing to speak to you.
Thank you.